Hey there and welcome to Hardcore Sustainable. Today I've got these grapes that I just harvested from my vineyard, and I've been overwhelmed with these Concord grapes this year because they're producing like crazy. I've already made a bunch into wine, and today I'm gonna make a bunch of these into grape juice, and also I'm gonna make some portion of that into grape soda. So fresh grape soda, naturally carbonated and delicious. You know, when you buy soda in the store, it seems like this magical thing because it's all effervescent, it's got all the fizz in it, and they actually pump carbon dioxide into artificially flavored juice products. You know, it's sweetened, artificially flavored. It's just a big syrup of crap. Whereas soda is actually pretty easy to make, and in the past it was made using a natural fermentation process. And when you ferment things and you put them in bottles, they automatically will become fizzy. So that's how you get the fizz, and how they used to get the fizz into soda. It's such a simple process, and you can make this delicious tasting grape soda. So this year I came into a bunch of these Grape bottles. So they've got this flip cap. All you do is sterilize them, put your grape soda in there, clamp it down, and then you wait a week, and basically the yeast action in the grape juice will create carbonation. And then once you go to drink it, you open it up and it's fizzy. Yeah, so within a week's time you can turn your fresh grapes into grape soda, which is just delicious, and you can't get anything like this in a store because it's just fresh organic grapes, and they're naturally sweetened and delicious. So the first step is crushing all the grapes, which you can either do this way by hand, or you can drop them all into the bucket and crush them with your feet. I'm not sure which one I want to do. I think I might want to do with my feet. Obviously I'm not going to get both of my feet into this barrel, but I can get one of my feet in. As you can see, I ended up with more than I can fit in this barrel. I'm not going to put any more in here because sometimes the grapes will float to the top and be sitting on top of the juice. And so I'm expecting this to go higher than this. So I'll put this into a bucket and we'll do the rest that way. So after crushing the grapes, I added pectic enzyme to help with juice extraction and potassium metabisulfite to kill wild yeasts and let them sit overnight. Okay, so the next step in making this juice and soda eventually is the pressing. We've got our grapes that have been sitting out overnight over here. Well, they are kind of rising to the top, you can see. Pretty full. Alright, so I've got this sort of mesh bag in here that I'm using, and I dropped the fruit right into the bag, and that will keep the spout here from getting all plugged up, and it will contain the grape pulp. It's kind of hard to avoid there being some kind of activity in here, even though I did add some potassium metabisulfite to try to kill off any of the yeast that would be in there. Let me try a little bit of this. Now, I haven't added any sugar to this, so wow. That is delicious, just like that. There's just like, you don't need anything in that. No sugar. It's perfect juice right now. But probably could dilute it a little bit and it would taste fine, which is probably what I'll do. Alright, so we're making some progress here. We've got quite a bit of juice from these grapes, and this is the last batch that I've got in the press here, so we're almost done. It's taken a while. It's taken less time than the steam juicer would, definitely, but it takes a while still with the press. Although I don't use any kind of fuel when I'm doing this, so it does save on fuel. So that's good. So we've got our grape juice all pressed out and in this carboy, and you can see that there is some yeast activity, natural yeast activity going on in here. I'm kind of debating as to whether I should add any yeast before I put it in the bottles, but if you think of the amount of sugar that's probably in there, I haven't done a Brix test yet, but there's probably at least like 13 to 15 Brix, which is quite a bit of sugar in there. And so we want it to have residual sugar. It's not going to be super alcoholic, it's mostly just going to be carbonation that is created in the bottle. And then we'll pop it open, we'll have a drink, and we'll see the results of this. The thing about these American grapes is that they are pretty acidic, and I really like that in a soda because I tend to like pretty acidic sodas. Like tonic water is one of my favorite sodas, and some of these things like fruit juice sodas just can't be tart enough for me. And I like that this has a kick, and then it's also carbonated. So let's get these things filled up. Well, my first attempt at bottling the soda didn't go exactly as planned. Apparently the yeast was a little too active, and the following day I opened a bottle to test the carbonation, and all I can say is soda everywhere. So I emptied all the soda out of the bottles and heated the juice again and started over with the bottling process. Now, I've made root beer in the past using a flavor concentrate with added yeast and an even higher Brix from added sugar, and that didn't end up explosive even after a week in the bottle. But apparently using raw wild juice and old potassium metabisulfite is a different story. Okay, so we're going to try again here with using some yeast that I added. This is just some baking yeast, bread yeast, which is what the soda recipe calls for. And I'm going to put about a little bit over 1/8 of a teaspoon of this stuff in to some water to rehydrate it. And then I'm just going to add it to the mess of, I've actually got more than this, but this is a gallon of the, I guess it's basically pasteurized grape juice, because I did heat it to like 150 and kept it at that temperature for a while. Didn't want to heat it too much because that changes the flavor of the grape juice. But actually, what I think I'm going to do is add a little bit of grape juice to it, give it some sugars to feed off of. It always amazes me the power of yeast and bacteria, that you can add such a tiny amount of yeast to such a large amount of liquid, and they'll just spread throughout the whole thing and thrive and grow. Alright, we are finally getting back to bottling our soda now, grape soda, and hopefully it'll work out this time. It's not very active, so that's a good sign. If it was bubbling like crazy and I noticed it was super active with yeast, then I would be concerned, but there's not a lot, and I have the feeling that where we're going to find is we're just going to have to check it every day and sort of pop the cap and see what it's like. And if I get a lot of pressure coming out or I get fizzing happening, then I'll know that there's some activity happening there. Alright, well, I tested this soda this morning, and it's only the second day that it's been in bottles. And I found that there was a lot of activity going on in there, so I transferred all of my bottles into my refrigerator, and they've been kind of cooling off ever since. So I think this is a good idea, because when you have so much activity, if you just put it in the fridge, it definitely slows things down. But we're going to see how it seems to be here. And I open it up, and oh, it's actually, since it cooled down, it's much better. It's not going crazy. Now let's get something to pour it into. Wow, if I leave it open, it starts bubbling out. Definitely plenty of carbonation, but on the verge of being explosive if it's left out. Plenty of fizz. Plenty of activity going on there. Bottoms up. Very grapey. It's good. Nice and fizzy, effervescent. Nice flavor on my tongue. It's definitely much more tart than your typical grape juice, and not as sweet, or grape soda. Definitely not as sweet, but I like it. I like the flavor. Definitely has a little bit of a wine flavor to it, so I think it has some alcohol. But good smell, good flavor. I think it's got like this kick to it that people would definitely like. I think if I did this again, I'd pasteurize the juice after pressing and add about a fraction of the yeast I added this time, just to get a very minimal amount of activity. In time, there will be activity no matter what, but if there's a very small amount of yeast to begin, it will be a slower process and produce less gas. Alright, well, thanks for watching Hardcore Sustainable, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, share and give a thumbs up to the video, and I'll see you next time.